This is the Umbrella Academy podcast on TV podcast industries, and we're discussing Umbrella Academy Season 2, Episode 7, Olga for Olga.
Hello, Olga? It's her. She's hello. What should I say? Excuse me, ma'am. I was just wondering. What? My name is Luther Hargreaves.
You killed one of ours, Olga. Now we're coming after you. You will be dead by nightfall.
Hey, it's Olga for Olga, idiots. Swedish for an eye for an eye. Means the Swedes killed Elliot.
Wrong number. Have a lovely day.
We would have gotten there.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Welcome back, fellow Academy alumni. This is Derek, one of your hosts for the Umbrella Academy podcast on TV podcast industries, and we're talking about Umbrella Academy Season 2, Episode 7, Olga for Olga. Idiots.
I'm one of the other hosts, Chris, and I think I'm one of those idiots he's just referring to.
And yes, welcome back, fellow fudge nutters. I am one of your other hosts, John.
Wow, 7 episodes in and you've dropped Brawley Dollies.
No, that's still there, but Fudge Nutters is a great name for a bar of chocolate, but nonetheless, yes.
You sure it wasn't Fuddruckers, John?
I thought the bar that number 5 was after was a Fudge Nutter.
Okay, interesting. Excellent opening to this episode, and actually a really good episode as well. What do you guys think overall?
Absolutely loved it. This was one of my favorites, more just because we get this awesome assassination scene, and with 5 in all his glory.
Absolutely, yes.
The more and more I'm seeing of Aidan Gallagher throughout this season, he has outstripped every other character for me. Even the actress Kate Walsh, who is just so quirky and different and kind of evil. Number 5, just Aidan Gallagher. He should. It's a shame this didn't come out 2 months earlier, because I'm positive they could have put him in for an Emmy. For like best supporting cast or something like that. Yeah. But yes, anyway.
Yeah, every time I'm picking my quotes, it always seems to land on a 5 quote from the episode. Especially the quote that I pulled out for this episode. I love his talking down to Luther and Diego about how much of idiots the two of them are. And the two of them kind of accept it as well. It's like, oh, I guess we would have got there eventually. But they're on the phone to Olga, von Olga, threatening her life. So they probably wouldn't have gotten there eventually. But anyway, thanks so much for joining us once again at Academy Alumni. If you're joining us over on our Patreon group, you're getting this episode early before it's out in our main feed. If you're not joining us over on Patreon, you can come and support us over there at patreon.com/TV podcast industry. Support us for any amount and you'll get the episodes of Umbrella Academy early, along with a few other goodies as well.
Yes, those few other goodies. What can they be? Who knows? And
we do know what they are. We have Captain America The Winter Soldier available over there exclusively on Patreon. Some more superhero fun.
Yes. We have more coming soon over the next couple of months as we dive deeper into 2020, the year that hell just keeps on giving.
Absolutely. It is the definition of hell is 2020. As I saw recently on Twitter, someone said, aliens will arrive in December. It is bound to happen. It's just another thing.
Then they'll just literally open the door and go, oh God, no, we're leaving, lads. Come on.
Exactly. Like, some vortex to hell and Cthulhu will kind of rise up and consume us all. It is just that kind of year. This is obviously the Friday the 13th of years.
It definitely is.
But in terms of all the amazing TV you're going to be getting and the podcast we're going to be covering, you've got this. We are covering Umbrella Academy Season 2, as well as in the lead up to Boys Season 2, which we know is coming in just a few short weeks. So, of course, moving it all back, if you go to patreon.com/TV podcast industries, you get all the episodes early, as well as a few other goodies. Films won't be back for a while, so we'll see what else we can add in there for the time being. But gentlemen, I think it's about time we get back in to TV podcast industry, to Umbrella Academy Season 2 to Episode 7 discussion. So, Derek, do you want to tell us who gave us what in this episode?
Absolutely, yeah. Episode 7, Oga for Oga, was directed by Ellen Kuras. She directed episode 6. I remember she was the cinematographer on Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind that I mentioned. I just want to mention that again because that's pretty awesome. The teleplay for this episode was done by Nikki Schiefelbein, wrote on comedies like Flaked with Will Arnett and The Ranch with Ashton Kutcher. So good comedy base behind her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this whole series has good comedy in it, I think. Really nice.
But then, strangely, this episode has some really tough emotional moments.
They're definitely.
And I'm like, that's the thing I found, the balance and interplay that they've managed to build this writer's room full of people that you've seen, like, who are quite serious, like, dramatic writers. And then you've got these kind of comedic, I wouldn't say, comedic is probably wrong, adult comedy. So we're not talking Monty Python here.
Yeah.
We're going more kind of a bit.
Well, we are going a little Monty Python.
Well,
We discussed that in the last episode.
Certainly, yes.
And we may have more Python-esque humour in the future, of course.
That is true, but I meant more like basically the seminal humor and joke that is fish slapping dance on a key. I don't think we're at that level.
Maybe that's what'll happen to AJ in the future. But
Maybe. But I was more, as you said, Nikki did things like Flaked and The Ranch, which they're more kind of, as I would say, adult comedy type. It's kind of like dramatic and then comedy, and then joke, and then drama, and then joke.
I only knew Ranch as a dressing, to be honest. I haven't heard of that one.
you need to watch more comedy, John.
I know.
Yes, we really need to get you out more. Well, we need to get you more
Don't kill me,
in front of
Chris.
the TV.
You said get
Anyway.
you out more,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
take you out more. But John,
No, COVID.
absolutely. But John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for the episode?
Sure. After Five travels to 1982 to carry out his new mission for the Handler, the siblings face a flurry of difficult decisions. Meanwhile, Carl issues a warning to Vanya.
Is it 1982 or
It
1983?
certainly is, Chris. That's the
Wow.
same mistake you were making back in the last episode. It's 1982.
Okay, great.
And it's Harlan, not Harlan. We have
I
mentioned
will
this
I
before.
will pronounce however I want to pronounce.
There's so much that went on in this episode. I can't believe the synopsis is only one line for this. We need to write better synopses for these episodes.
That's true.
No, we don't. This is perfect. Originally, do you remember when like half our episode was John just talking?
That
and,
is
like,
not true.
summarizing it?
That is not true. How dare you?
Well,
I'm sorry. It was 3/4 of our episode.
Yeah,
so-
well,
That is not true.
except when we did the recap for season 1 of Umbrella Academy, since I wrote that. That's why it's so bloody long.
They have always been a paragraph.
yes,
Your
a
words,
long
absolutely.
paragraph.
No, a normal paragraph.
But let's get into our discussions before you guys attack each other over our Google Meet call. Chris, do you want to give us your big moment from this episode?
Yeah, for me, it's the best way to describe it is 5 goes to 1982 and the Handler gets a promotion.
So you're taking all the big moments from the episode then?
No, it's just
He's doing a
one
me.
through line. I am doing a John. It's a through line. For me, it's the 5 going, as we see at the very beginning, the opening shots. He's in 1982. He goes to, this hotel there where they're doing the committee is meeting, the board is meeting, sorry.
Alongside a polka convention, don't forget that,
Yes.
Chris.
That was quite great. And we also do get the woman who working there trying to get him change from her purse, which is actually a fanny knapsack.
We don't call it that in Europe at all. They call it that in America, though, don't they?
Yes,
fanny
and then a bun bag. We used to call it bun bags.
That's right, yes.
Did you say bun bag or bum
Yeah.
bag?
Bun.
It's bum bag.
No, it's bun bag.
Well, I called it
B-U-N.
bum. Okay, growing up, we always used to call it a bum bag.
So in the UK, see, this is the very, very many definitions and strange things. I think that's why they called it a purse in this. But anyway, we get that lovely actress doing quite a strange performance. And we find out why later. But he goes in, he picks up the axe. 5 has a bit of a meltdown. Actually, before he picks up the axe, he has a bit of a meltdown at the vending machine. And we just get this beautiful scene. And it sounds terrible when I say beautiful, but we get this great scene where we see why he was the best assassin for these guys.
Absolutely.
And we understand why his power is so significant for what he can do. Because he's just popping all over. He jumps in and he's just popping, like he, as they make a move, he's basically there and like cutting off their arm.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's enveloping them and teleporting them at the same time and then throwing them into the ceiling.
Yeah. I have to say that opening moment where he cuts off the arm of the person that's supposed to be calling for the emergency services is fantastic, because I didn't expect that that's what he was doing. I thought it maybe the head was going to be cut off with an axe, and then it just cuts back to her, no arm, sitting, or her arm sitting on the table, the rest of her body separated from it. But yeah. This is the real, this is Matrix with an axe, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just, this is one of the reasons it was one of my top moments, even throughout such a packed episode. Because it's just, for a show about superheroes, we don't see, it is very grounded in family and the apocalypse, and them, there's the story beat of them trying to, so while there is flourishes of them using their powers, like Allison using her rumor and Klaus kind of being possessed and all that type of things, we don't see the all-out Avengers-style moments, fights, like we saw at the very first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's grounded, and that's fine. That can be a budget thing, an FX thing, like an effects. It could be multiple things. It's also like you don't want an over-the-top, every day, every episode, they're using their powers.
Exactly.
Like, it's supposed to be something. So, that being the case, we've heard how the old-timer is and was one of the best assassins. And you're thinking about it, you're like, well, yeah, like, I suppose he could, like, he probably was just really good with a gun. No, this is why he was one of the best. Because he's able to take a running swing and take off someone's arm without even actually running. He can just, the momentum of his teleportation kind of just takes him forward.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't even show that much gore. When I say, like, they didn't show him directly cutting a guy's head off.
Mm-hmm.
What they did was, you hear the blip, you see him, and then it pans to him behind the guy, and the guy's head comes in half.
Exactly. Yeah, it's how you maintain your rating when you're on
yes.
when you're on these shows. Don't show the blood. I do love that that for about a third of the fight, there's just a body hanging out from the roof by its neck as he's going along. But we do see the, will we say, tragic end of AJ Carmichael heading the fishbowl, at least the fishbowl anyway, at the end of the fight as well, which was just great because it's effectively building up to the point where AJ is going to be taken out by Five the whole way through that scene. It's just waiting for that moment when he's going to get to this very fragile fishbowl, and he eventually gets there with a cricket bat.
Which I thought was just brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was just fun, because he's just like, come on, stop running.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this all leads to that the board is gone. AJ Carmichael is handed over to the handler. She gives the time traveling suitcase from the commission to Five, but she gives it with a caveat. They have 90 minutes. And then the part that I wanted to move over to, and I'll let someone else take the kind of 90 minutes piece. But it's essentially that the handler is now effectively in control. The handler is taking over the commission. It was a coup de grace. And that's fine. And that is actually quite an interesting, that's not what I was expecting from the outcome of this.
Right.
I wasn't expecting that she wanted to become the dictator, the number one, the Donald Trump of the commission. I didn't see it as a coup. I saw it. I didn't think of it as a coup.
Right.
I suppose maybe I just didn't think about it enough.
Maybe, yeah. I think that was always in my head. She just wanted her old job back, and she didn't want this guy who.
So it's the old job back. That's the bit. I thought she wanted her old job back. I didn't know she wanted total power and control over the commission.
Well, it's a coup.
Yeah, it is a coup de grace.
Yeah, well, that's what she said. So, like, in the last episode, she was talking about how we need the deniability of what we're about to do. So it was always about taking over the commission, for, at least for me anyway, because it's to put the blame onto number 5. He is her patsy, and she's using him and she's working him, to the point where the whole 90 minutes for the briefcase, as he was saying, you mentioned nothing of this, and all of a sudden it has to be, we've got to get the entire academy to the alleyway in 90 minutes. And hence that whole TikToking, which is great through the episode, this build up of time. So I think for me, at least anyway, it's always been this idea of a coup or a revolution.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think she doesn't think they're going to make it in the 90 minutes. She's kind of hoping they're not, because then the patsies are stuck back in the 60s with no way out, basically. So I think not only is she challenging them with the 90 minutes, she also probably believes it's not going to happen. So that leaves them stuck.
Then they're stuck in 1963. Yeah. Well, are they stuck? So that's the one bit I'm always questionable of, is why, if he was able to travel to 2019 previously, which we know he did, why can't he do it again?
So I think what we've heard from 5 is that he knows he messes up every time he tries to do something massive.
Time related.
Yeah,
so that was it. Yes, that's the story with his conversation with his father.
Yeah, so he does jump forward to 1982 in this episode on his own, but I think the jump between the 60s to 2019 is the one that made him younger, so he doesn't want to do that to his family. If he brings all of them with him, and they all de-age maybe when they arrive, that's probably too much for him to control. And previously, when he jumped back to the past, everybody was separated across years. He doesn't want to do that again. So having a briefcase that would get them all back together to that place would make sure it's all safe, I suppose, if they all use the briefcase at the same time and go through at the same time. So I think that's the feeling, and that's following on for the discussion that he had with Sir Reggie, where he's saying he doesn't trust himself to be able to do this again.
Yeah, he needs to do the seconds instead of the hours and days and years.
But immediately afterwards, he does jump forward 20 years in time to commit.
Exactly.
But I think he does that on his own in that episode. I think that's probably the way I'd let him out of this. He does that on his own, and it's not as far forward as jumping 50 years, potentially. So.
True. So, any other comments from you guys on these two bits?
No, nothing from me. John, do you want to take us on to your big moment from the episode?
It's just simply, I loved the possession of Klaus by Ben. I thought it was really good that Ben kind of got this moment here. And I mean, just the toing and froing between Klaus and Ben anyway is really, really good. Klaus has kind of ignored Ben. He hasn't kind of really involved in when the academy has gotten together. So I thought it was really good that Klaus allows Ben this brief moment of possession, so that he can do Dirt Angels with Jill, who's his flame. I love when he's walking through, you have the toes going through the dirt, but he picks what looks to be an orange off the tree, but ultimately it's a massive grapefruit, and it has that sort of the kind of the acidic sourness of a grapefruit, which was really good.
Straight into it, yeah.
And I think what's really kind of, I suppose, endearing here with Ben is him connecting with Jill, and it all seems so innocent from Ben's perspective, but ultimately Jill is a little dirt bird because she's been doing a few 3-ways with Klaus with the sling. So sort of all of a sudden his kind of awkward romantic sort of approaches, she's kind of like, well, we can just head off to the sling and get it on again together.
Like we did last week.
So
with Kichi, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it was just, I loved all this. I thought this was really, really nice. And then, of course, I think what was fantastically done was the whole struggle for the control, as they're making their way from Klaus's mansion to the alleyway, where you get glimpses of Ben and Klaus kind of struggling to get rid of the possession or maintain it. I thought that was really good.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, in the end, leading to Ben being vomited out of Klaus's body in the alleyway. I just really liked this. It was a nice moment for Ben. You know, that idea of him sort of going along. It was also very kind of hippie-esque, you know, this idea of touching all the plants, you know, tactile, experiencing nature and all that. But in the end, there's still this struggle for Klaus's body by the two of them. You have a great Backstreet Boys tune belting out as well as they move towards the alleyway, which was really, really good.
Well, I like that Ben uses exactly the same strategy that Klaus has used throughout this cult experience. When somebody asks him for some inspiring words, he just takes a song from the 90s and quotes the lyrics at them. For some reason, though, I don't think the Backstreet Boys lyrics work as well as Waterfalls by TLC. That is quite an inspiring song, but I don't think the Backstreet Boys getting back together for one last go around on their final album is as inspiring as Ben may think it is.
Well, exactly. But I think that was the point. He was just clutching for straws, and it was Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, weird, isn't it? What is it about that song, guys? Can you explain it to me? That's been used in so many movies. Is it just awesome. A generational thing?
No, it's awesome.
It's a generational thing. It's the 90s, well, actually 2000s generation. So it's a millennial.
It's not a millennial thing at all. I love this tune, and I'm not.
No, I'm not saying
millennial.
That. It's the Well, yes, you are definitely not a millennial.
It's bringing back. I don't like. And it's bringing the team together. Like, that's what it's about. And it's a great tune. It crosses generations and, like, it's really good.
It's just because it was used in that Seth Rogen movie, another one, This Is the End, about all the actors who were in LA trying to survive after the apocalypse, and they all get to heaven, and the Backstreet Boys are there singing Backstreet's Back. It just feels like a really weird song to be, so inspirational to a lot of people. That's all I mean. It's just because the song is about them coming back together and releasing another single. And there's nothing deeper about the song than that. But throughout this show, and the people who choose the music for the show have been really good about picking some really good songs throughout the episodes. Maybe it's just because I'm not a boy band fan. That's probably what it is. But I just don't find the song inspirational.
Okay. Well, on that note, welcome to our podcast within a podcast, where we're going to talk about basically what songs are generational and what songs are not. Next up on the list, Enter Sandman by Metallica.
Definitely generational. But it is fantastic that, like, the Ben and Klaus scenes together as they merge. I love that opening where Klaus is trying to stay awake so that Ben can't jump into his body, and
absolutely.
They start picking at each other, where it's like, where Ben's going, "Oh, I hate your face," because that's what he's had to look at for the last 17 years since he died, and Klaus retorts with, "I hate your everything," because the two of them have just been stuck in this place together. Like, I know you mentioned earlier on that Klaus hasn't allowed Ben share in the group, but even worse than that, he's denied that Ben's even in the 60s with the rest of the family. Nobody else knows that Ben's there, basically, up until that dinner with their father. Everybody thinks that Ben was left behind or didn't come with them at all, you know? So Klaus has actually been really harsh to Ben by not allowing him to even speak through him to his family. But this scene throughout it is really, really funny, but definitely up until that moment where you see Klaus trying to regain control of his body from Ben. It's just really well put together, seeing these two play off each other. Robert Sheehan's fantastic in these scenes as well. So, great point, John.
Well, yeah. Because we know that Ben was CGI'd in, like, to see the way Robert Sheehan is dealing with this possession is just fantastic.
Really, really good. Yeah, definitely.
I think the other thing that's really nice with the whole Ben possession thing is that, you get this interruption from Diego, who's coming to get Klaus, and Ben has this moment with Diego, which I think is really, really nice. They hug it out, and they have what's the one thing that only Ben would be able to know about Diego and Luther, which is that they've reprogrammed Teddy to say, "Klaus, he sniffs Dad's underwear," which is really funny. But it's just a really nice moment together for Diego and Ben, I think. And think I like that Ben is getting a few moments here to shine, which presumably may not bode well for the future, but nonetheless, this is really a nice moment with Ben possessing Klaus's body.
It is, and I just love the big hug between the two of them when Diego realizes it is Ben in there. I think it's another lovely moment between these two brothers. You know, we can tell again, you know, much like the moments that we had earlier on in the season with Klaus and Allison reuniting. You can tell this family themselves were very close. Under the tutelage of Sir Reginald, they probably bound together much tighter because he had no love for them at all. But you can tell that the family themselves really did love each other. And Diego does seem to be very soft-hearted. What we saw in season 1, himself and his mother being so connected. So particularly him seeing or having this time with Ben inside Klaus's body is really, really good.
Agree. Yeah, 100%.
As we mentioned, there's so much going on in the episode, and we will talk about, you know, where all the rest of the cast are as we get through our points. But the one moment in the episode that I really, really liked is Allison talking to Ray, because each member of the family kind of has some things to deal with before they get back together after this 90 minutes, I suppose. But Allison saying goodbye to Ray, I think, was really good. I think their relationship throughout the season so far has been really central to the show. Given that he's a new character into the show, I think Ray's fit in really well. And I think you can see why the two of them are married. He's really supportive of Allison, especially since he's found out what's happened and who she is. But I love this idea where she says to him, I can use my powers now that you know what they are. I can use my powers to rumor you, to take everything about me out of your mind and make it easier. You can just move on with your life once I'm gone. And he says no. I think it's a really touching moment between the two of them.
I agree. I think again, as you said, that they have an amazing chemistry, and the character arc in this is fantastic.
But then after Ray refusing Allison the ability to rumor away the past with them because he wants to remember everything, we have the attack by the Swedes on their house. I love that they come up with the idea that they're vacuum salesmen to get in through the front door. Like, have they done anything that excessive really in the past? I suppose they did steal the milkman van.
Well, I think they're still wearing the milkman's outfit, which is really funny because they just have that outfit all the way through. I think they are anyway.
I think
it's Hoover salesman dressed as milkman. So yeah, / assassins.
I think it was the one that blew up had the milkman hat, whereas these two guys didn't at least keep the milkman hat on them. So maybe the white outfits can be multi-purpose, but I don't know why. I think just because they seem to be making this excuse to get in through the door, they don't do anything further than that. They just show off a Hoover that they're trying to sell, or a vacuum.
That's the bit.
And she instantly notices something wrong here and tries to rumor them. But I love, because they've done their research, this is why they're good assassins. They instantly punch her in the throat effectively to stop her from being able to rumor them. So it's just a great fight sequence from there.
Well, fight sequence, it's just fun to see. I don't know if I go that far to say it's an amazing fight sequence. No, it's just that she again is at the end of it. She holds her own. Allison holds her own for the whole thing. And then at the end, which is, I heard a rumor you killed your brother.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is just, it's fantastic to watch. I know that sounds very morbid, but it's more that you can see the hurt and the pain on the Swede as he's doing this. So he's compelled to do it. He doesn't want to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I like this. And then jumping back very quickly, just to Ray and his decision not to be rumored away the memory and the pain. That's great. I actually really enjoyed that aspect of it, because he was basically, I'd rather have be in pain for the rest of my life than forget the last year with you. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of sweet.
It's lovely.
Like, it's not sweet. It's a fantastic way to show that it wasn't just a fledgling love or marriage. there's something deeper there.
Yeah, you're right. Like, you know, the temptation, of course, for her when Luther visits her and says, we're getting back together and we're going back to the future effectively, is of course her child's there. So, and her child could be saved. So, of course, Allison wants to go back to visit her child in the future, you know, but of course, you know, this temptation between staying with her husband that she's lived with for the last year or going back to see her child, you know, that is something that she has to weigh up. And I'm sure it would be so much easier for her if she could just rumor away Ray as well and make sure that he wasn't in pain as well. But yeah, I do like the interplay between the two of them. As I say, I love the writing between these two characters. Really good. Weirdly, we've never mentioned who Ray is, the actor who plays Ray in this show. We saw him in Good Omens. He played one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So we actually have talked about him on the podcast as well. So really good actor. Really enjoy him in the show.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the other great thing about that, the Swedes turning up, is, that fight, but it is also that I Heard a Rumor is used here, and it's used against the elder Swede, to kill his own brother. Despite him having just had a Hoover attachment to the eye, again, just kind of nice, cheeky reference to the eye for an eye. But it is, he is forced into killing his own brother, strangling him by Allison here. So Ray doesn't get the I Heard a Rumor treatment, but certainly the elder Swede does for sure. And he plays that really, he plays it really well, that idea of him compelled to do it, but trying to fight it. I think it's very, very well done by him.
Absolutely. And confirmation that they are brothers as well. We did question, I think we had a conversation about whether they were brothers just because they all had blonde hair didn't necessarily mean they were. So nice that they had a just reference there that they were brothers. So, but yes, three become one. In the Swedes.
I mean, hopefully they'll have a Spice Girls reference.
Absolutely. That's kind of it for the big points for the episode. As we said, there's a lot going on with everything in this episode because all the cast are getting back together for this final moment and all wanting to say goodbye. The one we really haven't spoken about much is Vanya and what's going on with her. Following on from Carl finding Vanya kissing Sissy in the back of the car, we have a lot of stuff going on with Carl and Sissy and Vanya back at the ranch, I suppose, back at the farm. I love the kind of threat that's there from Carl. I think the actor again plays this part really, really well. Just the simple idea that he's just sitting at the table watching them while drinking a glass of water. And Sissy realizes there's something wrong with that when she offers him a beer and he's like, no, I'm okay right here. It's really threatening from him from that point onwards. And we get the real threat from him. We get the fact that he's going to send Vanya off. He wants her to take the car and run away, basically, and leave them alone, or else he's going to send Harlan away because he knows exactly how to push Vanya's buttons. He knows that if he sends Sissy away, that actually won't hurt her as much as it will sending Harlan away. So there's lots of threats there from him, and a really good part of the episode as well. Yeah, definitely.
I think the guy who plays Carl here, I think it's done really, really well in terms of the writing and how, like, it's almost reasonable in a sense of how he does it. You know, you kind of think he takes her out to the ranch and you kind of think, is this kind of going to be, you know, a gunshot to the back of the head? Because he kind of references his ranching mate and so on. And in the end, you just have this very kind of matter of fact about disease spreading through the herd that needs to be stopped, and so you have to kill them all. And it's that threaten, as well as then the threat to put Harlan into a facility for his condition. It's that calm threat that's really chilling and disturbing towards Vanya and even towards Harlan. But it's also just the fact that it really does mash it up really well, because actually, you know, Carl in effect is just trying to protect his marriage, actually. But it just shows the blurriness of being, you know, good and bad is that kind of, you know, I don't mean to reduce it down to that, but, you know, on the face of it, Vanya is trying to steal his wife. I think it's handled really well by the writers, and I think both Vanya and Carl in these scenes are just so good.
Yeah.
It really, you see that Vanya cares so much for Sissy and Harlan with wanting to bring them along, and needs to go back to at least either bring them back so that they can jump as well, or to say goodbye. At the same time, Carl's kind of, protecting his a bit like a cat or a dog protecting their territory.
Yeah.
And then
his wife, and they haven't married for years. You got to think about if it was one of the other members of the Umbrella Academy there, if it was maybe Luther that was there, or Klaus that was there, or Diego that was there, who was coming on to his wife, he probably would get a shotgun to the head.
No, exactly.
But instead of that, you actually get a really awful way that Carl describes what's going on.
Exactly.
He's basically talking about it being a disease, saying you're unnatural and you need to cut out the disease before it spreads, is the way he describes it. So much worse connotations to the way that he's speaking about
it.
It's absolutely about her being a lesbian, not about her stealing his wife. He wants her gone out of there to stop.
Absolutely. It is. It's that subtlety of a reasonable approach, but then there's this cool kind of, or really obnoxious analysis of how you have to deal with it because they're homosexual, which is all about disease and cutting it out. And it's what brings these layers really nicely, because in a sense, if this was just another man, Carl doing this would be very reasonable. I suspect we would all be there going, he's being really reasonable about this, in a sense. He's just giving fair warning.
He's being very reasonable. He didn't shoot the guy in the
No, exactly. And that's the great thing, I think, about introducing this diverse set of characters, whatever it may be, is it adds nuance and subtlety to normal dialogue and scenes that you wouldn't normally get, which changes the meaning really kind of in a nice way. And that's what I liked about these scenes between Carl and Vanya, and with Vanya and Sissy, and ultimately Vanya and Sissy take Harlan and run away. So, which leads to a very good roadblock and use of her powers, which Sissy sees for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. Until she gets a shotgun to the back of the head, the other way round, I suppose. She gets the butt of a shotgun to the back of the head to knock her out. So, wondering what's going to happen with her. I haven't particularly complimented Ellen Page this season yet on her performance. Ellen Page is a fantastic actor. She really was absolutely brilliant in season 1, going from the meek version of Vanya to the really powerful version of Vanya. Her scene in this episode with 5, where she's trying to explain why she has to bring Sissy and Harlan with her into the future, I think is a brilliant scene on its own. I could see that on her show reel forever from now on, just that idea that, a mother and a child will not ruin the future if I bring them forward. We will not destroy anything by bringing them forward. I think it's so well delivered from her.
Or will they?
Oh, and I think what I quite like about this is they have a face-off of powers, and both back down ultimately, which I thought was quite interesting. And that there is that kind of mutual respect of what the other can potentially do. I thought that was really interesting. It's not what I was expecting between these two in that moment. Just where you kind of get those waves coming from Vanya, and you kind of get a little blue with number 5, and ultimately number 5 backs down and they compromise, because he doesn't want her to go at all. He just wants to get her to the alleyway. So I thought that was really good.
Or does Vanya back down? I'm not sure.
No, I think they both do. I think they both realize, let's just back down.
Yeah. Anything else about the episode? Any other notes about the episode that we want to talk about before we go on?
Nothing from my side. I just think, as we said, it's interesting to see where this sets us up for next episode.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only other note I have is about the Handler taking over the commission. I love her speech to everybody in the commission, especially her comment about there is grief counselling available, but not paid for by the company. I just think it is hilarious. I love that she's got this power back in her hands, and she's still just as crazy as before. And remember, nobody here likes her either. So we saw that when she was returning from her time in hospital, tried to give her coat to somebody, and everybody just ignored her return. So that's going to be very interesting as well. Her work with the commission. I think that's it for all of our notes and points for this episode. If you want to get in contact with us, make sure you email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com with your thoughts about the episode. We'd love to hear what you're thinking as this season goes on. Overall, Chris, what did you think of episode 7 of season 2 of Umbrella Academy?
This was one of my favorite episodes to date. Mm-hmm. The fun of Klaus being possessed by Ben, the race to the end. It was basically the race episode. Mm-hmm. Can we move everyone around? I was actively yelling at my TV sometimes, going, 28 minutes. What the hell? Stop talking. Just run. And then the selfishness of Vanya, I suppose, it kind of like, no, I'm not going without Sissy and stuff. I'm like, no, so fine, just leave Vanya then. Who cares? But I'm like, I suppose obviously you can't. And then just from that opening sequence with 5, it was one of the better episodes for me. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say the best yet until I see the remainder of the episodes of the season. But yeah, really, really, really good. John, what did you think?
Yeah, I really like this. I'd give this 4 fudge nutters out of 5. I just like the build up. The whole kind of the use of the tick-tocking from the clock and the build up to get to the alleyway on time, and how everyone is going about this, and it's all a bit like the family, dysfunctional. They're prioritizing sorting out, whether it's with Ray, whether it's with Carl and Sissy and Harlan, and it all doesn't quite go to plan. And actually, the biggest mess of the family in terms of Klaus is the one that gets there on time, presumably because he's possessed by Ben, which was really good. And you have, sort of just the great, the board slaughter, as you guys picked up on at the start, and which is really good, and the kind of the many fish bowls of AJ Carmichael, which was nice. I thought he was going to get killed. I wasn't expecting him to be put into the plastic bag like you'd get at the fairground, and ultimately as a trophy on the side of the handler's desk now that she's done her coup. Mm-hmm. This was really good. I like the urgency of the 90 minutes. So yeah, 4 fudge nutters out of 5, if indeed that's what they are.
Excellent.
Derek, what did you think?
I'm going to keep it short. I really liked the episode. Lots of serious stuff going on, as I mentioned, with Allison and Ray, and with Vanya and Sissy and Carl as well, but some great funny moments in the episode as well. The call to Olga Foroga from Diego and Luther, I think, is absolutely hilarious. These 2 guys who are supposed to be the leaders of this team, both of them have always fought for leadership since the beginning, and they couldn't organize a piss up in a brewery, as we'd say. I think it's absolutely hilarious to see the 2 of them. But yeah, there's so much other great stuff. Klaus and Ben, Possession is brilliant as well. Really top episode. It's definitely one of my favorites so far as well.
Yeah.
One final thing to do before we get out of here for our discussion about episode 7. John, we're back to our pub quiz.
Remember, fellow Brolly Dollies, you can send the answers to the Umbrella Academy pub quiz to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. It is now being put up in the spoiler section of the episode comments. So as you go into the comments for that spoiler post on Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries, we're putting up the question for that episode as well. So there is multiple ways in which you can engage with the pub quiz. But the question for episode 7 is, what is the other convention taking place at the Lonely Inn in 1982?
Oh, right. Okay. I didn't know that was the question. I may have given that answer out earlier on, but that's okay.
That's fine.
That's okay. Can I just say I do love the reaction from two of the people from that convention when they see blood-covered number 5 and just turn around on their heels and close the door behind them.
As we all would do. None of this hero complex for me.
Absolutely.
Close the door and lock it.
Thanks so much for joining us for this discussion. Make sure you get your answers in for the pop pub quiz to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, and we will talk to you very soon for the next episode.
Yes. Talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, thanks so much. Remember, keep watching, keep listening, and keep nutting.
Nice. We'll be back with episode 8.
Oh, that does not mean what you think it means, but bye.
I know. I'm going to explain it to him when we're in our break.
I know what it means.
We are going on to episode 8, The 7 Stages, next time. Bye.
Bye.